Welcome back to the Two-Tone Report. I'm Ryan Smith. Got to my right is Ethan Jacobs. It's draft week. Finally here. Feels like the Super Bowl was just like a week or two ago, man. But Ethan, it's been a little bit. Didn't have an episode last week. Maybe the week before. I don't even remember at this point.
We've
What's
been
up, man?
busy.
Been
Nothing
busy.
much. Nothing much.
Been
We've
busy.
just been out here grinding, living life, living La Vida Loca. I'm a little tired right now, but we grind.
We grinding, getting rich. Enjoy the fruits of our labor. But
And my cat is absolutely destroying a ball underneath me right now.
nice, dude. That's
Wow.
awesome. Which cat?
This would be Teddy. The new one.
The new one. Nice, dude. Good for Teddy. Good for Teddy. But in spirit of draft week coming up in just a couple of days, obviously the Titans are the fourth overall pick. I'm going to be doing a little bit of a mock draft. Little last one before. We haven't done a whole lot of these, but just in spirit of draft week and obviously, you know, how big of a draft this is going to be, especially in the first round for the Titans this year. I'm going to do a little bit of a first round mock draft, but we're going to be doing something a little bit different with those first three picks. Ethan, if you want to explain, since this was 100% your idea, definitely not mine at all.
Yeah. So, when it comes to the Titans, I feel like it's going to be a lot, a big mystery what's going to happen. So I feel like it shouldn't be dictated by us at all with the first three picks because, we're going to be biased. I'm going to try to, make it work right, but I'm going to try to see if I can get the player that I want at 4 instead of what falls to 4. That's just the idea. I'm letting the computer essentially be the other teams in the draft and pick for us. So it's kind of similar.
Yeah, and as you see on the right, I'm cheap and do not pay for PFF Plus or like the pro
PFF
version
is
of PFF.
downhill.
So I'm a scumbag. I hate everything. I hate all fun. But
Not in quality, but the fact that you can't do like 2 or 3 free ones anymore. You should do the one.
yeah, it's just the one. So that
PFF's
sucks.
still very good company, but it's just annoying.
It is very annoying. And the only other thing about it is since the Jets have which pick is it? Isn't it
6, 7.
Kill yourself. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. They're gonna have the second first round pick. I don't remember which one it is, but the Jets, the computer will pick for it. But let's go ahead. We'll go ahead and get this draft started here. I think we can just both give our opinions on what we think is gonna happen before I actually click start. Obviously, that first pick, I don't think we need to debate on it. It's going to be Fernando Mendoza. I think he's the best quarterback available in this draft by a long shot.
Need some stability really, really, really bad. They need someone in there who's not a total idiot to go in there, take the reins, be a mature quarterback that can really lead this team into the future. And Clint Kubiak, I feel like he worked with a very similar quarterback in Sam Darnold. I feel like they are very similar in a lot of ways. So, hopefully the Raiders, this works out for them. So, yeah.
No, I definitely. Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I definitely agree with you there. And, with this quarterback class, it's going to be not very good with Fernando being kind of the only guy who's worth taking in the first round. I don't know where all this hype with Ty Simpson's coming from.
Diego Pavia at 2, bro. What the hell?
Diego Pavia at 2. What about? Where's Oh my God! Where's Drew Aller? Cade Klubnik at second overall. But it's just
could have been.
Yeah, I think it's really obvious he's going to be the pick. It's been that way since after the national championship ended.
6,
I feel like
years,
is that he's just been the first overall pick. The second and third is where it gets really interesting before the Titans pick. I'm curious on what you have to say. I don't think my opinion's really changed on it, to be honest with you. I've seen other people say differently on who they think the Jets are going to take, but I think it's going to be Arvell Reese. I think from a traditional draft standpoint, especially with what we've seen over the past 10 to 15 years, he is probably from a positional value and overall prospect ranking, I think probably the top guy and this is really debating on the positional value part of it, because I think if it wasn't, then it would be Jeremiah Love in a heartbeat. But I think when it comes to just as a whole with the positional value and everything, he's kind of the main guy in my opinion that is going to be taken. I think the Jets are going to get that. I think that's what they're going to end up doing. But I'm curious on what you have to say with everything that's kind of transpired. Like I've seen David Bailey as the potential second round pick. I think the Jets have done a top 30 visit with him, but
Mhm.
I have no idea. I don't even know what's going to happen at this point.
I actually think that they didn't have a top 30 visit with him because apparently it was something like they already had all the knowledge they needed on him.
Hmm.
Um, so that may be a different team. I know it was one of the top teams that were in the draft. Pretty sure it was the Jets, but I definitely agree with you. Arvell Reese is my number one guy. I think he's an insane talent with Robert Sala coaching him up. I mean, that's a dream. That's a dream.
Yeah,
Um, but of course, uh, we had to beat the Cardinals in the most retarded way possible. So instead of having the number one overall
it's
pick and
good,
trade
man. It's
for
great.
some crazy value, we had to pick a four. But that's okay. It's still a decent pick. Arvell Reese is going to go to Aaron Glenn's
Okay.
job depends on it, and I feel like if you're going to have that much upside, I mean, let's just face it, Aaron Glenn is on the hot seat already. Um, being a Jets head coach is just a nightmare.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just one of
never.
the worst organizations to coach and in the league. It just is. It's just a dysfunctional mess.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, it's so bad to the point where you've got Dante Moore, who would have been what I think a lot of people guaranteed the second overall pick this year, and he didn't declare because he didn't want to be drafted by the Jets.
Smart kid, smart,
That's that. I mean,
genius.
yeah, and you've seen the success that a lot of people have had leaving the Jets at the quarterback
Yeah,
spot, especially with Sam Darnold being the most recent one. Although you can sit here and say that that whole shtick with Sam Darnold leaving was kind of just a not necessarily a byproduct, but it's like it was so far removed from him being on the Jets to going to San Francisco or going to Carolina, then San Francisco, then Minnesota, and then Seattle. That
because
like
he
I
did
kind
so
of
much
get that.
learning in between that time.
Yeah,
He's a different quarterback every year.
yeah,
Even since the Vikings, I mean, he was a very different quarterback. So it's like, is it really, Sam Darnold? Like, was he the savior of the Jets at the time? No, hell no.
no,
He was seeing ghosts. He was horrible. But
yeah. No, it was bad. It was bad.
I
But
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think we're both in consensus here with this second overall pick with Arvil Reese.
But we'll see what
But
the computer does.
we'll see. And
You're gonna
you
have to
were
tell me,
right.
by the
He
way,
did not.
because I can't do
He
it.
was supposed to do one, and David Bailey was supposed to do a top 30 pick, but he did not. I had to look that up. But uh, third overall pick. I think this is even more cool. I got to be honest. I have no idea. I want to hear
This
what
is
you
the
have to
hard one.
say. I have no idea what they're gonna do. No clue.
So here, I think is the prime spot for someone to trade in to get one of the edge rushers to jump in front of us. Um, I think there are a lot of teams in talk with both the Titans and the Cardinals and trading up. Kansas City and Dallas are the two main contenders. I've heard a little bit about the Commanders as well. Um, but let's just say that they want Jeremiah Love. They're going to have to go three if they guaranteed want that pick. You know, um, but if they're going one of the edge rushers, still probably better to go three and jump in front of us. But
Yeah.
um, I think this is a trade out spot. If they don't, because I think one of the tackles, wherever they're coming from, is going to be there at where they're picking. So I don't feel like there's any harm or foul in the Cardinals trading out, getting up great value. Um, Now I know as long as he hasn't been fired, because GM stuff's hard to follow sometimes. Um, I think the Cardinals GM was a former Titans front office guy, maybe assistant GM under John Robinson. Um, so they have a relationship there. Maybe they're communicating about it. I can't imagine they are. once you left your team, it's all over. But maybe there is some talks there with something. Uh, but yeah, it's a huge question mark. No one
Yeah.
knows what's going to happen. If I were to bet, it's going to be trading out with Kansas City or Dallas to get an edge rusher. One of the edge rusher, David Bailey, is what I think is going to happen here, and we're going to be left with Jeremiah Love at 4.
Okay. I could definitely see that. Like you said, I know you said there's been, trade talks and things like that. And it's just with all the needs that the Cardinals have for this upcoming season, being able to trade back, and especially with both of those teams having, with Dallas and Kansas City having multiple first round picks, they're probably going to end up getting both of those. Whether it's and if you were to get that, I think Dallas would be probably the better deal since they have two earlier ones. Or well, Kansas City, I think they pick at 9, I think, right? Yeah, they pick it. Kansas City picks at 9, and then they're like a later
Dallas is
first round pick.
12.
I think it's like what?
Dallas is 12, Kansas City's 9, and then whatever their second
Yeah, I
first
forget
round
when
picks are, I
Kansas.
have
Let
no
me
idea.
let me let me just look. They're at 9, and then they go down to 29. But Dallas picks at 20 with their second pick. So it's like I think Dallas would probably be the better suitor if Jerry Jones isn't, a cheapskate and tries to, undersell it at third overall pick. By the way, the Cardinals GM, he was a former director of player personnel from 2020 to 2022. So for the
That's what I
Titans,
thought.
yeah, Monty
That's what
Austin
I thought.
Fort is his
I
name.
I knew he
So
had a weird name.
all right, make fun of the guy, but whatever.
He's
I
bald
think you're
too.
probably right, but
Okay.
in this, he is bald. He is bald. But I think in this case, since we're not doing trades for this, there's a pretty good chance there's a trade up scenario for this. But I think in this case, with there no trades, because like I said, I'm cheap. Um, I think what we're gonna do is I think I've seen a lot of things. They'll go tackle, potentially go with the Jeremiah Love, even though I think that's kind of off the table at this point. Could go edge rusher. I've seen stuff where Arvo Reese makes it past 2 and they end up taking him here. But I think if they're going to do it, I think they're going to take one of the two tackles, whether it's Maui Noah or Spencer Fano. I have no
That
idea
would be the
which.
smart move.
I think that's what they're probably
Yeah.
going to end up doing. I think the consensus is that Maui Noah is probably the more polished prospect and is probably the higher ranked one out of the two. So I'm going to say that, but realistically, it could go either way, or it could just go in a totally different direction. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't think anybody does. I think if somebody says the Cardinals are leaning in a way, they're lying because they don't know. They have no idea. Now that we're done with that part of it, let's go ahead and actually get started here. So let's see what are the Raiders, Jets, and Cardinals going to do. There you go. Both edge rushers go off the board here in Ruben Bain and David Bailey. Obviously, Fernando Mendoza going first overall. So I don't think this is going to happen. Okay,
No, Ruben Bain's not going to go to.
this is just whatever, right? You get the
Yeah.
luck of the draw. So you get the
You
luck of
know
the
what I'm
draw
going
with
to pick?
this. Hmm. Yeah, I think we both know who we're going to pick in this case. Now, what we would do, and what the Titans are going to end up doing, I think is going to be different because I think they're going to take Jeremiah Love. But I mean, could they end up taking? I think they should end up taking Arval Reese. I think in this scenario they probably would, but I also don't think this scenario is going to happen. I think it's almost a
Yeah.
guarantee that we're going to see uh, Arval Reese go 2 or 3 overall, and he's not going to be on the board here. So, but I definitely think that it's going to be. I think it's going to be Arval. I think it's going to be Jeremiah Love here. But I'm kind of curious on what your opinion on that is because like I said, what they are going to do and what they could end up doing, or like what they are going to do and what they should do is probably going to be two different things.
So, all right, this is the big moment here. This is the where we finally, waited all this time just to get shit on a little bit whenever things don't go your way. it looks like this specific scenario, it worked out very, very well.
Yeah,
Um, Based on what I said earlier, Arvell Reese is the pick here, but not going to happen in real life. Arvell
no,
Reese might make it. He might. There's still a chance, but it's not going to go in this order. It will not be Ruben Bain. Uh, it will
no.
be. It will have to be someone else, a tackle, or Jeremiah Love. It'll have to work out that way somehow. Um, unless there's some stuff with Arvell Reese, especially with the Ruben Bain car crash incident, which is pretty
Yeah, that's
recent
certainly
news.
something. That is,
Now, it seems that that news has been apparent to NFL GMs for a long time, but of course, the media is just now
yeah. 'Cause,
finding
I
out
mean, it
about it.
happened in like 2024. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
people obviously, something like that where you go out and get into a major car wreck is going to be. It's not like it's going to be hidden anywhere. No,
yeah,
kind of hard to hide that. Obviously, as we saw with the Henry Ruggs, but
yeah. Now, if he
and
wasn't under the influence of anything,
I don't
um,
think he was. I don't think he was.
that would be a much bigger story. Now, it's
Well, he's
still
not. He didn't
tragic.
play
A
for
woman.
Georgia, so
Yeah, it's true. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Ruben Bain um, was involved in a pretty serious car accident in 2024, which resulted in the death of a woman later in the hospital. She did not die at the scene. Uh, I don't think he was under any influence. Who knows what was going on? Probably looking at his phone, doing something like that. It's a mistake that plenty of people make. He seems to be a really good guy. This is probably a scar that haunts him a lot. Probably
yeah,
thinks about it a lot. Um, but Titans fans, we have to think about kind of some of the cases that we've brought in that maybe were a little bit interesting. Like Jeffrey Simmons. Uh, I hate bringing this up because it was when he was, I think, in high school. Whenever a woman was assaulted, whenever I believe his sister was being beaten up by another woman and got called the N word, he decided to retaliate against a woman. And they decided to show that on draft night in front of everyone, and kind of a bad thing. But Jeffrey Simmons ends up being our Walter Payton candidate of the year every year. He should win it. He does everything he can for the community. Jeffrey Simmons is a pinnacle of what a Tennessee Titan should be. Uh, but Ruben Bain would probably be an option at 4. Um, but does that take him off the board? I don't know. I don't know how they feel about that. And his arm length is definitely a hindrance that
yeah,
matters when it comes to NFL tackles. NFL tackles are just mutants. Their arms are freakishly long and they're strong. Ruben Bain's technique is insane. He is going to win matchups in the NFL. He is going to be a solid prospect. But is he a 4th overall pick? That's the question. Um, so, I don't think there's any way that Arvo Reese is getting is not getting taken at 2 or 3. He's not making it past those because he doesn't have that scar or mar on his resume like Ruben Bain does. So I feel like here, based on this simulation, I'm gonna go Arvell Reese, but Jeremiah Love will be my pick come Thursday night. With it, I'm putting all the marbles in.
that's what I'm thinking too. But yeah, in this case, we're gonna go ahead and take Arvell Reese. Uh,
Of course, with no trades. With no
yeah,
trades.
yeah, no
If there
trades.
are trades,
Maybe
I think we're out of it.
PFF wasn't exactly the best scenario in this to take. But the thing with me about that fourth pick is, I think the best one on the board, minus an Arvell Reese. I honestly really like Ruben Bain as a prospect because we've talked about this plenty whenever talking about the draft over the you know lifespan of all of this. With what Ruben Bain brings as a game wrecker, and I think you saw that in the national championship and just all throughout this
Insane.
playoff run and really all throughout this season. He is a true game wrecker, and the only thing that really holds him back of it is his arm size. And what I would see is because of his size. I think he's like 265. I think it might be a little bit smaller than that, but he's somebody who I feel like you can line up on the outside on these rundowns and have him, be an adequate to good run defender on early downs, and then when it comes to these pass rushing downs, obvious pass situations, just kick him inside to line up over a guard like a three tech, or I think maybe five tech. I could be wrong about that, but you know, kick him inside to where he's facing off against a guard and have him kind of neutralize sort of the lack of arm length that he has. That would be a huge disadvantage against some of these tackles, and give him an opportunity to thrive as a pass rusher as well. Because not only are you doing that, you're also tacking on, a little bit, more attention in comparison over to, Big Jeff. Whenever you've got getting double teamed every play, now you have to worry about somebody else on the interior pass rushing instead of just, worrying about Jeff Simmons and then hoping that your tackles hold up against guys who are just unproven on the outside. But I really like that pick. I think that's what they probably should end up doing, is taking Reuben Bain, because, like we mentioned, Arvell Reese probably isn't going to be there, but in this case, he is. If they don't, I think it's going to be Jeremiah Love. That's pretty much all I've seen is Jeremiah Love going to the Titans at this point. But and I mean, it makes sense. You think
It
about
does
what
make sense.
you think about what this team wants to establish with this first pick in the Robert Saleh era. It's an era of toughness, and you're going to get that with a running back like Jeremiah Love. I think he's, from a overall standpoint, not factoring in positional value. I think he's the most talented player in this draft, and I think he's the most polished as well, because you think about a lot of these guys who are, athletically at the top of this draft, which is an Arvell Reese and a Sonny Styles and David Bailey based off of his combine. All those guys are really up there because of that, but also because of their, positional value as well, because Arvell Reese doesn't have the production in college. Sonny Styles
He does
doesn't
not.
necessarily have it either. Plus, his positional value is terrible. The only reason he's up there is because of his, just like Jeremiah Love, is because of his freakish athletic ability. And with Jeremiah
He's the
Love, you're getting both of that. You're getting the production and you're getting the athletic ability. So I think that would be a home run pick. But in this case, obviously, like you said, Arvell Reese is on the board. So
I have a couple things to add on here. You made me think about it a little bit. You know, Arvell Reese is similar to Micah Parsons, um, similar to Chop Robinson, where these
a little
guys,
less good.
uh, these guys don't have like the production in college necessarily. They just have the intangibles to be a great pass rusher. Um, and that's what you're hoping for. Now, Arvell Reese seemed to be a little more proven in different positions. And we were talking about how
Yeah.
Ruben Bain maybe can go inside a little bit to work with our nasty, interior defensive line with JFM now and Jeffrey Simmons, which is, wow, crazy to say that. Our interior is going to be
It's
nasty as
going to be
long
one
as
of
we
the
stay
better
healthy.
ones at the very least. One of the better ones in the
Um,
league at the very least. If not, it's going to be really good. It's going to
it's
be
going
it's
to
going to
be
be very, very
crazy.
good.
I mean, positional versatility is what Arvell Reese is.
Yeah.
I mean, he can play linebacker, he can play, edge, he can play interior. He is just an athletic freak. He can go back in coverage. It's just he's able to do all of those things much better than like another prospect would be. Which is why he's so sought after. He kind of reminds me of what's his name? I should know it. Uh, Clemson a couple years ago, where he was a linebacker, but he could literally do everything. Forget his. I should know his
Oh,
name.
Isaiah Simmons.
Isaiah Simmons. Isaiah Simmons. Um, yeah, he's very similar to that. Now, Arvell Reese is a little bit bigger, a little bit taller, a little bit heavier. He's going to be more on
Yeah.
hands in the
And I mean,
dirt.
also, Isaiah Simmons was like a primary safety, too.
Yeah. Well, he's
He was,
actually came out as a linebacker,
I mean,
I
that makes
believe.
sense because he's a little bit bigger, but yeah.
I mean, he was a positional freak. I thought he was going to guaranteed be like an insane player. So it doesn't work out sometimes. Um, but this is a little different. He's a little more proven, a little more polished. Um, And when you look at Jeremiah Love in comparison to Arvel Reese, that's why, okay, just to clarify, that's why Arvel Reese is so sought after. Arvel
Yeah,
Reese can literally do everything. If you have a coach that can bring him in and polish the technique and really figure out where he's best at, which is what Robert Saleh does. Look at every example of every place he's ever been. Um, that's why just like slobbering over it,
doing
just
tricks on him.
drooling over the fact that Arvel Reese could land with the Tennessee Titans.
Oh yeah,
Um, Same thing with David Bailey. David Bailey's a little unpolished, and if he comes here and maybe learns a couple things, it would be fantastic. Ruben Bain, you can improve it for sure, but there's maybe not too much to add at a technique standpoint. It's just all about figuring out where he needs to go. But when it comes to Jeremiah Love, the reason why he's so sought after is because he is, I believe, according to ESPN, he's the consensus number one overall prospect over Fernando Mendoza, over Ruben Bain,
yeah.
over Arthur Reese, all these players.
I don't think there was ever any of these, big boards, whether it's PFF or ESPN or any of these big boards that had Fernando Mendoza at the number one overall prospect. Because, and it's something I did kind of want to talk about with him. I don't even think, you go back to years past with some of these quarterbacks, like you think, with some of these former first overall picks with like Cam Ward, Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, well, in my eyes, Cam Ward was consensus. According to Mel Kiper, he was not. It should have been Shadur Sanders, obviously. Big name, big number change
Should
over
have been
there, but
Shador.
fucking moron. But with Fernando, he was like, the consensus number one overall pick. But from an athletic standpoint, there's nothing he does that is overly like, you know, pop out at your eyes. Wow. He doesn't have that athletic ability like a Lamar Jackson, doesn't have like the big arm like a Josh Allen. But what he does have is that clutch factor in quarterbacks that you just can't teach, which, it's no understatement how huge of a deal that is to have, especially for, a team like the Raiders who went out and spent a lot in this offseason and uh,
New
ended up,
center.
yeah, got a big time center there with Tyler Linderbaum coming in and one of the best centers in the league, and that's going to be a huge deal uh, just from an offensive cohesion point with him and his soon to be new quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. But like I said, there's nothing that he does athletically that's like, man, this guy's the first overall pick. It's just the clutch factor that he's able to have, whether it's the game against Penn State and then obviously in the national championship as well. Just you look back at those two things and it just his leadership and his clutch factor is just completely pops off the page for you. And I think that's the biggest thing, and that's why when it comes to an athletic standpoint, arm strength, athleticism, things like that, it's really not that big of a gap, if there is any gap, between him and like a Ty Simpson. Honestly, Taylon Green's a more athletic quarterback than he is. He's a bigger arm and is a lot faster. But well,
Six
Arkansas went
six
like,
with crazy vert.
yeah,
He's an
Arkansas
insane.
went like 2-9 this year, or 2-10 this year. They stunk,
Come
and
on.
now it wasn't his fault. The defense was one of the worst in the country, but still, the team stunk this year. He's not somebody who makes the players around him better, and that's what Fernando Mendoza does. And he's the only quarterback in this class that does it. Like even with Ty Simpson, Carson Beck, you could maybe say Carson Beck, Cade Klubnik, Drew
I
Aller,
would
like I said,
arguably
Taylon
say
Green.
Diego Pavia makes the team around him better. If Diego Pavia was 6'1", I think he would genuinely be a first round pick. Genuinely, 100%. He's just 5'9". There's no
Yeah, it's
way
not
he's going to
good.
be successful in the NFL.
We're taller than
Um,
he is.
yeah,
That's not
like
good.
by a decent margin. I think he's actually like 5'10" and a half, so he's not that short, but it's been
Still,
done before. Russell Wilson was that height, Kyler Murray's that height, Doug Flutie was that height. It can work, but his also deep down the field accuracy is not great. Um,
yeah, for somebody who is that old and has played that much college football, he still is not a very polished product, and that's
yeah, thrower of the
that's not going to
football
get you
for
drafted
sure.
very high. Yeah, well,
He
yeah, as a runner, he's really good, but as a, but being a quarterback and throwing the football, he's
kind of
got a
go
lot of
hand in
work to
hand.
do.
As surprising as that is, they kind of do matter. It kind of matters to
Believe it or
be able to throw
not,
the football football.
when you're how old is he? Like 24 years old. You're
No,
24.
he's 23.
He's
He's
23.
our
My
age.
bad. Unk. Uh, when you're 23 years old, an older rookie quarterback not being a polished player in that right is definitely a big thing. But we've kind of yapped on that for long enough. Giants are on the board, obviously making a big splash, getting that 10th overall pick as well, which I do think it makes things interesting, right? Because I think there's a lot of debate between whether they go like a Maui Noah or Spencer Fano, or do they go Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs. Now they have an opportunity to kind
Like Bennett be
of
both.
potentially go both with it. And I'm kind of curious what you have to say with that, because I think I think they're going to go Sonny Styles here, because I
I
think
think
with
they're
his
going to go
athletic
tackle.
ability, it's I think that's what's going to end up happening. But I mean, I don't know.
I think they're going to go tackle because if John Harbaugh brings anything but like stability to this organization and how important like the trenches are and stuff like that, and New York can quit whining about not getting this and not getting that. Um, Harbaugh is going to say take a tackle with the their first pick in the first round, and then you kind of can have the fun. You get serious, take the good prospect that you want because you know New York has a lot of pieces to be a good football team. Now, do I believe in Harbaugh coming in and being able to completely change the culture? No, I think it's New York. I think Harbaugh is going to come in there and be okay. I think they're going to be a middling team, probably make the playoffs a couple of years in the wild card spot. I think the Eagles will be infinitely better. I think the Cowboys are going to be better. I don't think they're ever going to win the division. I don't think Jackson Dart is as good a quarterback as people think he is. I feel like Dayball had a really easy system around him with having a pretty good run game.
Yeah,
Um, I don't believe in the teams that they have, and they're gonna have to really turn it around or hit some home runs with this pick. But Jackson Dart was injured a lot last year because he's an idiot, first of all, and second of all, I mean he was hit a lot.
I think Scadaboo's got to him.
Yep.
He's the
So
first. He's the
I'm
first
going tackle
offensive
here.
player to offensive player to be assessed targeting. Scadaboo is, but okay, tackle that intriguing. Who do you think they're going to take though? Whether it's Mauino or Fano, because I think those two are the consensus guys at the top of this
Maui
draft that are
Noah.
going to be.
I think it's gonna be Maui Noah.
That's what I'm thinking too. If they were to do that, I think they're going to take Sonny Styles here, because I think even with the positional value not being there with the off ball linebacker, he's kind of similar to Arvel Reese in that this dude's just an athletic freak, and I think he's going to be able to learn different spots on the defense and become a just a really good Swiss Army knife. But yeah, I think they could go with Maino as well. I've seen that as well, trying to build up the offensive line, help out Jackson Dart and Scadaboo a little bit. Obviously, you're going to be getting Malik Neighbors back this year, so that'll be a big one. I've also seen them potentially go wide receiver as well. So I mean, it's just this draft. I think is very polarizing in that essence of it. It is a really high floor draft. There is not a lot of guys who you can sit here and say that it's like this is a high reward, high risk guy. I think Arvel Reese is kind of the only one there, because even with Sonny Styles, he's somebody who I think is gonna there's some risk taking a true off ball linebacker with a top 10 pick, but also the athletic ability is there, and I think the instincts are there as well. But you think about Maui Noah, he's a really, really, really good tackle. Is one of the more polished ones we've seen coming out of college, and it's the same thing with Spencer Fano. He might be one of the other ones that's like a, you know, bigger risk, bigger reward. But Fernando Mendoza, he is a polished quarterback. Obviously, guy spent a lot of time in college football and has shown what he can do and has shown the quarterback that he is. He kind of reminds me of like I know I was saying that with Ty Simpson, but I was gonna say Ty Simpson kind of reminds me of just a pre-Oregon Bo Nix almost, to where he's a guy who doesn't necessarily do anything special, but also didn't have the reps to kind of back up to like this is who he is. But because when you think about it, obviously we talked about Arvell Reese, but David Bailey, you know what David Bailey is. He is going to be a true pass rusher. I don't think he's going to be anything more than that. He's going to be a guy who's going to, I would say, potential to be a double digit a year sack guy for whoever takes him. In this case, it would have been the Cardinals, but and then with David Bain, it's kind of the same deal, right? You know what he is. He is going to be a fairly versatile piece on the defensive line. Uh, he's going to be a pretty. He's a polished in that sense pass rusher, in which you know what you're going to get with David Bailey. You know what you're going to get with Ruben Bain. You know what you're going to get with Fernando Mendoza. What you don't know is what you're going to get with like an Arvell Reese. But and I'm just kind of spitting out a bunch of nonsense right now because I'm trying to gather my thoughts. But uh, this is one of those drafts where it's like a really high floor, but not a very high ceiling with a lot of these top end guys. I think where you're going to see a lot more of the bigger names come out is in the second and third round because of how deep this class is. And I
Yep.
think you're going to find more value, and I think that's where you're going to see a lot more guys be taken based off of their athletic ability and their body types than what you'll see in the first round this year with a lot of these top end guys. But Browns, I think
Jeremiah
this
Love.
Jeremiah Love really okay.
Yeah, I just feel like the Browns are such a bad organization that they have so many other needs, but they just can't pass up getting a guy like Jeremiah Love. They don't have the foundation for anything really, so they're just like, yeah, let's just take a running back. Um, that's what I think. I think the Browns are just that kind. Well, plus there's no trades right now. I feel like someone will probably trade up for him.
I can
Um,
see that. Yeah,
so with Washington, oh shit, what are their needs over
Washington's
there? I don't know Washington
interesting.
too well.
It says running back, wide receiver, defensive line, and safety. I think they're probably going to go wide receiver. I think that's what they should end up doing. I've seen people say Caleb Downs. I've also seen if Sonny Styles falls this far, him. I think they need to go wide receiver because you think about like who all is going to be catching passes. I think Terry McLaurin is still there. Outside of that, Debo, like they
Debo's good for like 4 games and then he just disappears.
pretty much, yeah. So it's like they need somebody else on the outside to help to help out Jaden Daniels, and I really think that Cardinal Tate's the best wide receiver in this draft. I know I've seen it's kind of a debate on who's going to be the first wide receiver taken off the board between him and Micaiah Lemon. I just don't think the top end of this wide receiver class is. It's not like what we've seen in years past, and it's not like what we're going to see next year. So I can totally understand if somebody wants to wait a full year to really want to dive in after wide receivers because you think about what's going to be more than likely in next year's class with Ryan Williams and Cam Coleman and Jeremiah Smith. Anybody else that could pop out onto the scene here in this next upcoming college football season. But I think for Washington, it's hard to wait. You get a really good wide receiver in Carnell Tate. That's who I'm going to go ahead and say here. But I'm curious on what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, they need help everywhere. I think the Commanders, we all remember the run they had 2 years ago,
Oh yeah,
with Jaden Daniels as a rookie. I mean, Jaden Daniels has all the intangibles to be a fantastic quarterback, but he can't be every position on the field. And we all knew it. We were all saying it years ago that the Commanders' run was a little. Uh, it was good, but you could tell. I mean, they're
you
just
catch lightning
renting.
in a bottle with the
Yeah,
schedule
lightning
and
in a bottle. You've got guys who are in their early 30s to mid 30s who are just like great players, but they're on the downhill. Like that's just how it is. That's life.
yeah,
Um, and you're getting on their last good years. I mean, Bobby Wagner's been in the league for God knows how long. Um,
yeah. That guy.
so
I
I
mean, that
mean,
guy has been just a monster as an off-ball linebacker his entire career. He's probably gonna end up being a
so
Hall of Famer, honestly.
you've got to be able to start getting pieces in there that are a little bit younger, that are a little more. valuable at certain positions, and I feel like receiver's one that you can never have enough of, especially with a quarterback who's always needing help. Um, so yeah, that's a decent pick.
Yeah,
All right, the Saints. They need what? They need wide receiver,
wide
linebacker. I'm gonna
receiver.
go Sonny Styles here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think he's the best player on the board right now. I agree with you on that. I think just from, and obviously PFF saying that, but I mean, I agree with you. So that's what three Ohio State Buckeyes that are off the board here in the first 8 picks.
In the Kansas City Chiefs, now we have to remember that they let both of their starting cornerbacks go to the Rams,
Yeah,
so they need some help. Um,
and I
I'm
think
going to go
this.
Mansour Lane.
I about to say, I
If
think this
you
one just
pick,
depends
but
on who you think is the best corner in this draft. Which I personally think it's Jermon McCoy because the 2024 season that he had was one of the better cornerback seasons that we've really seen in a long time. Plus, what you saw at his pro day for Tennessee for UT was really good coming off of a torn ACL. Like he ran in the 4.3s, had a good vert. Yeah, he just looked really good coming off of that ACL tear.
yeah,
And
he
I
did.
know we had talked about it where it's like ACL tears, they aren't what they were 10, 15 years ago. The modern medicine has changed that, where you can get guys who and come back like they
Be a
hadn't
better
even,
prospect,
hadn't
honestly.
skipped a beat. Like hadn't skipped a beat with it. But
They didn't have a year of wear and tear on their body, so it's like they're able just to work out, get faster, get stronger, make their knee better. And then once you're 2 years removed, you are ultimately a better prospect for that. And
yeah,
so yeah,
no,
they
you're
honestly,
absolutely right.
it's different than it used to be. Like Frank Gore tearing his ACL twice in college and never doing it again. Imagine doing that in like what year was that? 2009, whatever
Yeah.
year that was. Like I wouldn't even do it. I'd be like, nah, I'd be so pissed if we drafted Frank Gore. But
Oh
look, it
yeah.
works out sometimes if you play in the
It's
league that long. But
yeah. I mean, like I said, I think I like Jermon McCoy. I think he's my corner one, but with Mansour Delane, obviously he did play last year and looked really good for an LSU defense. That was really good. Was kind of the leader on that defense, so it makes sense, and I understand the pick. Like, and I
I just
understand that.
always think that LSU, if LSU has a top prospect, they always work out in my mind. Don't mind Jamarcus Russell. Um, I just feel like in my
Except for him,
head, I feel like I haven't heard of a bust that's been like a top 10 prospect from LSU in a long time.
I was going to say
It's
I
been
was
a
going to say
minute.
bust from LSU. Could have said Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That was just a stupid pick from them. That was
Yeah,
just
I
a
mean,
dumb
that's a
pick by the
dumbass pick.
Chiefs.
I mean, he
But
didn't
then
really
also
do
that
anything.
was
It was,
pick 32. I
yeah,
think they were just I think they were just riding the train of that 2019 LSU team, kind of similar to what you saw a lot of teams do, like mid and later in the draft with, some of these Georgia teams, where it's like you see a lot of these guys get taken. Miami with Channing Tindall, and he's been awful for them, has barely played at all. Um, and some of these, I'm sure there are more, but people riding the wave of the 2020s of Georgia players. The same thing here with that 2019 LSU team, and that's what they ended up doing. But yeah, I know you're right because you think about obviously he wasn't a top 10 guy, but Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, a lot of really good players there. A lot of really good players there with him, and obviously Mansour. I don't even think he was in the discussion at the start of the season, but then obviously playing really well on a really good defense is going to do you is going to do you a lot of good favors. I think the Giants are going to take Caleb Downs here.
yep,
I think
100%. By the way,
that is about as clear cut of a pick as you can make in this scenario
yeah,
because you talk about a guy who's going to bring a really good culture to your team alongside being a really 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 good football player, both versatility wise, and then uh, just as a really good player as a whole with it, whether it's down in the box, being in overhead safety. Caleb Downs is going to be he is going to be one of those guys who you look back at this draft class, and he is going to be. I don't know how he wasn't taken in the top 5 because he's one of the best safeties in the NFL. That's what I see in this, and obviously we know what John Harbaugh likes in some of his safeties with Kyle Hamilton being a really 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 good safety now, and he's not that body type, but he can be used sort of in that sense where he's going to be kind of everywhere on the field and not necessarily, like you would see with a Minka Fitzpatrick, where he's just over a true center field safety. He's going to be somebody who's going to be playing down in the box. We'll be playing center field someday. He'd be used as a linebacker, and he's going to be a really good player, a really 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 good player for New York in this scenario. And I'd love to see him fall to 11, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see a way in which he doesn't go at either 9. I've seen him go to the Chiefs, or if he does make it past 9, he's I don't think he gets past 10. To be honest with you,
Honestly, dude, I think once I get past 10, it gets really up in the air for me because those first 10 prospects I have really worked on and thought about and watched stuff on. But once we get out of 10, it's a bit tough for me. So, based on your opinion, like what's Miami's move here? Do they do in the real life? I realize like let you have. I know this is a Titans podcast, but you're a Miami guy. Let's have your fun. Um,
I've seen Fano get taken here. I don't get that because I think both the tackle spots are fairly solidified. They've Miami's taken Monroe Freeling on a top 30 visit. I've seen some people say Kenyon Sadiq. I don't see that at all. I think that would be a stupid pick. Obviously, wide receiver with trading Jalen Waddle away, which made me very sad. I don't like the pick there, but I could see it happening potentially. I've also seen, I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce his name, the guard from Penn State, Jermon McCoy.
no,
A
go
lot
ahead,
of
give it a
these
shot.
guys, Dylan
No,
Dynaman,
go
I've
ahead.
seen there as well, although he was more of a later round pick. But this is one of those picks where I could absolutely see them trading back because there's not a clear cut decision in this. That being said, I think they're going to take one of the guard from Penn State or Jamon McCoy because you need so much help in your secondary, and there's a
Honestly,
really
I
big
would have
hole
gone.
at both guard spots.
Honestly, if I were you, I think the best wide receiver in this draft is Jordan Tyson. I feel like Miami getting Jordan Tyson would be like fantastic. Now, you have the trouble with injury a little bit, but you got to be honest, he had like a broken hip um and then he had like a hamstring issue and this and that. So it's not like, oh man, he's tearing his ACL every 5 seconds. He's just had some things here and there, and he played most of the games last year with his hamstring issue. But your coach is a defensive minded coach. So the first overall pick is probably going to be mainly dictated by him. Gerard McCoy would be a fantastic pickup for Miami. And, let's be real. Miami's always had a good quarterback on that team. There's always been one that's decent. When I think of Miami, I think about, some of those like pretty good teams from a couple years ago. And I always thought their corners were fantastic. So it's part of that identity. Um,
I mean,
and Gerard
yeah,
McCoy would be fantastic. It just seems like he fits Miami's vibe. But what does your coach do? Like with the Packers, he had a really good defensive line. Is there any defensive line on here that would be worth it
no,
to you, or
not not
is that
worth it
mainly
here.
gone?
If they're going to go D line, they're going to trade back. There's nobody worth it here. I think that the highest ones ranked here is Akeem Mesidor and Keldrick Falk. I don't see a world in which they're taken here. I mean,
And
there's
you
a
could
better
think
chance
about
they get
this:
taken
if
at
you
30
trade
than they
back
do.
and get value, you could come up early because early in the seconds where that talent kind of comes back up to the surface. So
Yeah,
that's where you're starting to get some of the prospects, and especially if you believe in your defensive-minded head coach. Um, maybe you trade back here, or you stick and pick with an offensive player here that you think is going to help. Malik Willis, Titans legend, um, as best as because he needs
Titans
help.
legend. No,
I
yeah,
mean,
no. There's
I
there's
love
zero
Malik
doubt
Willis.
about that, and I think what they'll end up. Listen, we can talk. We're not going to talk about that here, but what's going to end up happening is they're going to go. I think they'll go wide receiver and like day 2, could double dip at it, but I don't. Here's the thing. I'm just if we're sticking at this pick, I think it's going to be either Jermon McCoy or like I said, I'm not going to pretend to pronounce his name. Uh, it gets a little. I think with the depth of, I do think with the depth of this draft at the corner spot, I think they're going to end up going with the guard from Penn State. I don't necessarily see a way in which they bring in like a Spencer Fano or Monroe Freeling, unless the plan is to use his first round pick to kind of build up somebody who is going to replace Austin Jackson over on the at the right tackle spot. Uh, Outside of that, man, I don't. I just don't know. I just don't know. The Cowboys, man, I have no idea either. I've seen a lot of
Okay.
people say. I've seen a lot of stuff with Jermon McCoy. A
So
lot of
here's
stuff with Jermon
here's
McCoy here.
here's where I need to jump in a little bit. I'll let you yap because I'm going to make some more coffee. So I'm going to need you to take the reins here for a minute after the Miami pick. But let's bring it back for the Titans a little bit. There is a honest and truthful reporting, as long as you're not Diana Rossini, um,
Rip.
who believe that the Dallas Cowboys are in a lot of talks to move up. And we are one of the teams in talks. So let's just go for a simulation here a little bit. Then we'll go to Dallas and what we think they need. Let's just imagine here the Titans are picking at 12. The draft goes very similarly, which it looks like it could be. So we don't have Arvell Reese picked on this team at the moment. Um,
Yeah.
so what do we need? We need receiver. We still need defensive line, a defensive edge. We could use a safety. Corner always is needed. There's a lot of positions that we are lacking in that we could use some help. So Jordan Tyson is there. If Jordan Tyson's there at 12, that's really enticing. Gerard McCoy, that's really enticing. Um, Kenyon Sadiq, no, we don't. No, that's just not going to work out
I
for
don't. I
us.
don't see a way in which he gets taken. I don't. I don't. We've seen that story with Kyle Pitts, and it just not work. I don't think he's gonna. I think he'll probably end up being a back half of the first round. He's got the talent to be a really good tight end, but also I just think people are going to be scarred by the Kyle Pitts story and not stay away from him until later, whenever it just gets too good of value to take him.
So here, if it's the Titans, I'm picking Jordan Tyson. There's a lot of Titans talk about Jordan Tyson and how he is the best wide receiver prospect. He's just got a little injury history. Um, Titans wide receivers are just they're okay. They are serviceable starting. We're not as bad as we have been. Now, two injuries, we're ass. Wandale Robinson
It
goes
gets to
down,
that point. The
it's
depth
tough.
is just not there. The depth's not there,
So
and you can't sit here and expect for Wandale Robinson to be, target like wide receiver one. He is a guy who's Wando Robinson's a guy who's always going to be a wide receiver two guy. Is what it feels like. You know, even with last year, his production being pretty good as a wide receiver one, it's like you don't ever. He's not somebody who I think you feel comfortable with saying in the offseason, you're going to be wide receiver one for this team. You're always going to be wide receiver one for this team. He's somebody who, if you get an injury to, wide receiver one, whoever that may be, it's like you feel comfortable with him for a couple of games. He is somebody who,
yeah,
you don't worry about him for a couple of games, but for the long term, for indefinitely,
for Cam Ward's
you want to
success,
look.
you can't
You
rely
want to
on him.
look. Yeah,
So I'm going Jordan Tyson here. I'll let you yap at the Cowboys. I'm going to get my coffee started. I'll be back here in a second. I might be able to yell from the sink
that's awesome,
some
man.
stuff, but I'll be back.
It's the Ryan show now. I'm gonna change the name. Fuck the two tone. It's gonna be the Ryan Smith show. Uh, I think they're gonna go Jermon McCoy here, just because we talked about it. We just kind of touched on it with Dallas. They are a team that is going to be that was really bad defensively a season ago. I don't think there's any sort of shock to me saying that at this point. They were so bad defensively a season ago that it wouldn't surprise me to see pretty much every pick that they have up until day three, which is I think is only two because I think they only have. Well, I know I think they got a second, third round pick. Either way, or obviously they have 20 as well. I'm a moron, but it would not surprise me to see them go defense, defense, defense up until day three, just because of how bad that defense was, and with obviously Dylan Thieneman being there, he is very much risen up draft boards, but I think. positional versatility wise or position value wise, Jermon McCoy is the best defensive player on this board right now. And I don't see a world in which they don't take him if he gets there. Plus, he's a guy who's from Texas. He's from East Texas, White House, where Patrick Mahomes is from. It just makes all the sense in the world for Jermon McCoy to go back to Texas and head to Dallas with the help that they need, especially in the secondary. I know it says interior defensive line and then linebacker as the two bigger needs than corner, but you can't ever have too many good corners on a team. And well, the Titans don't have any, or excuse me, the Cowboys don't have any good corners. So they're going to need some big time help there. And I think this is a good start. Even with, like we said, the injury that he had, tearing his ACL, he still looked really good at his pro day and that 2024 tape. If he's healthy for this season, Jermon McCoy's probably a top 5 pick. That's how good, that's how talented Jermon McCoy is. It's just he tore his ACL and didn't play all of last season. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys. With the Cowboys, I'm going to go with Jermon McCoy. With the
Great pick.
Rams, yeah. Okay, so you just got back. I wasn't
Well,
looking,
I got to
but
go back here in a second. I just wanted to put my input in, so I'm not gone too long. How's the show
yeah,
going? Did it go good?
yeah, it was great. We don't need you,
Awesome.
dude. I'm going to
No,
take you off of this, and it's just going to be me now talking
the
about the Titans.
Ryan show. I love
The
it.
Talking Titans with Ryan Smith. Bang. God, it's such a great name. I'm such a fucking genius.
You're a
Uh,
whiz, dude.
I'm a whiz. I'm
Yeah,
whizzing.
out of wee wees.
Nice. But yeah, Jermon McCoy is the pick at 12. That's a pretty good one there. We need to speed
Yeah.
this up because it's 8:20 right now.
Yes, we do.
So I think this is where it gets kind of dicey. So we'll kind of start speed running through this a little bit. Uh, with the Rams, I'm surprised they even have a first round pick, to be honest with you. But the offensive line was not that great last year. Spencer Fano's still on the board. I know Monroe Freeling's obviously risen up. I think Ethan will be okay if I say Spencer Fano at 13.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure who else they would pick at this point, so we're going to say that. With the Ravens, man, like so much of this is just I have no, could see Makai Lemon. I don't even know who people have them projected to be picked because it's like, man, so many of these teams is just like I said, like I was talking about earlier. It's just this is a really high floor draft, not a very high ceiling draft with a lot of these guys taken. So, uh, kind of looking to see. Okay, so they have him taken here.
So
Interesting.
we have to put into account that Jesse Minter is the new head coach, defensive minded, former Vanderbilt defensive coordinator, like 4 years ago, which is insane. Um, I think if you're looking at the defense, they just got Trey Hendrickson. They have Kyle Hamilton at safety. They
I don't even
definitely
know
need
who
help at the receiver
there's.
position.
I would say they're probably going to go wide receiver here because
Yeah,
I got to be honest with you.
Kyle
There is
Lemon.
nobody worth there's nobody worth 14 at this point that is going to be up in this area defensively because, like you said, you have Kyle Hamilton already. They're not going to need safety and CJ Allen. I don't think you take a I don't necessarily think you take a linebacker here at 14. So
No, no, I think they go probably Jordan Tyson or Makai Lemon. Just depends on who they pair up with. Zay Flowers better, like who they think is going to be
I think that would
a more
probably
different
be Jordan
prospect.
Tyson since I think Jordan Tyson's he's a bigger body, right? I don't even remember.
Yeah,
I'm a
he's a big
casual ball
body and
knower.
he's an insane athlete.
So
Makai Lemon reminds me a lot of Zay Flowers. Actually, they seem like similar prospects.
yeah. So we're gonna say
Could be an
Jordan
Omar
Tyson in
Cooper
this one.
Jr. too. I mean, Omar Cooper Jr. is a
He's
very
the
different
same.
prospect.
He's kind of the same deal. He's a smaller body type, and I don't think that that's going to necessarily going to be the case there. Uh, Bucks, their number one thing is tight end, and with Mike Evans being gone, I feel like this is a perfect spot for a Kenyon City.
Yep, I could agree with
So
that.
we're just gonna roll with that. We're speed running through the rest of this. So scumbag. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. The Makai Lemon. They say the Jets are going to take Makai Lemon here. That's interesting. Okay. We didn't talk about that. Got a guy who's pairing up with Garrett Wilson for I don't even know who's going to be quarterback there at this point. So that is certainly interesting. Makai Lemon going there. Um, yeah, the Lions, their offensive line was pretty bad last year, pretty bad a season ago. Uh, Monroe Freeling's still on the board. Be a good pick for them, good value there for them. He's the guy who's definitely risen up draft boards. I remember when this was all first getting started. It's like he's a potential third round pick, but then obviously as combine goes through pro days and just overall draft, guys get their hands on execs get their hands on these guys and actually get to ask him questions. Obviously, his character has definitely shown that he's risen up draft boards like crazy. So we're gonna go Monroe Freeling here. Perfect pick.
Perfect.
Trying to roll through this kind of quick because Ethan's got to leave, day jobs and stuff. Uh, the Vikings. Interesting. This is also intriguing to me. I had there's somebody thudding above me about as loud as can be. Running. Um, this is one man I don't even. Let me see. A lot of this I'm going to be looking off of some of these mock draft experts and kind of just seeing what the thoughts are there. Mel Kiper says Dylan Theineman. That's intriguing. Uh, his athletic ability is really good. I think he's just a not as good Caleb Downs, not as polished Caleb Downs. So I can understand that. Obviously, with the Brian Flores still there, he's a big secondary guy. Loves to invest in the secondary. So, and he can be used in a similar sense as like a Kyle Hamilton or some of these other hybrid safeties that you see. So I mean, I like that pick as long as you're good with it. I already clicked it, so
Yeah,
you're gonna
fine
have to
with
be
me.
good with it. The Panthers. We get our first playoff team pick. This one is interesting, right? They went wide receiver last year in the first round.
Yes, they did, which worked out for them.
And worked out very well for them. Feels like they've invested a lot in wide receiver over the past couple of years. Whether it's uh, obviously like we said, Tedero McMillan and shoot, I'm forgetting the dude who talks like the
Xavier. Oh crap! I know his name.
the guy who eats
Leggett.
raccoon, Leggett,
Xavier
Xavier
Leggett.
Leggett, that guy. Hear that guy talk, and it's pretty wild there. But
What a waste of a pick that was.
yeah,
That guy sucked.
he has not worked out. He has not worked out for them at all. Uh, man, see, this is where it starts to get interesting because it's like I have no, and I don't think anybody really knows what any of these teams are going to do here. I really don't at all. I don't think a single person knows what's going to go on here. But it's just could always use defensive help in the secondary. Um, it's just it. What are you thinking? I guess is the better thing for this.
I mean, I think we're in the Carolina Panthers, and you're close to putting it together here. I think you go best prospect. Uh, that clearly isn't an already solidified position on your team. Um, you could always bolster the, offensive line. Uh, running back is always a position of need at this point. Uh, what does it say? Does that say wide receivers in need for them? What does that say?
Yeah, no, it does.
Wide
Which I
receiver,
mean,
tight end,
there isn't
center,
really
and
anybody center and interior defensive lineman. There really
okay,
isn't anybody. Pretty much the entire list leading outside of Omar Cooper Jr., which I guess I could see a pick there because that's a good that's a good contrast to what Tedero and McMillan brings because Omar Cooper is definitely somebody who I feel like is going to play in the slot, not necessarily be a true outside wide receiver. He's going to be in between each sort of pick there. So I could definitely see that. I could definitely see them taking Omar Cooper Jr. there because he's kind of the only person. But outside of that, I just don't. I'm just not 100% sure on this at this point.
You could always change it to where if you don't know, you could make a computer pick, and then
I guess I have to go into settings.
do it like that because I think when we get to this point, it's all a crapshoot anyway. No one really knows what the team is thinking.
Yeah.
Trades or this is where prime trades happen. This is the spot. Now
Yeah.
this year, unless someone's falling heavily, it's not going to happen. Because I don't see anyone here that someone's going to give, you know, handed foot to.
No.
Go
No,
around.
there's just not unless we see somebody like a Ruben Bain fall this far, which is just not going to happen.
No talent.
I
It's
just
never
don't see
going
it.
to.
But I think it'll be a good contrast, not just for obviously Bryce Young, who had a pretty good season last year, but just to this wide receiver room. So I think when we're going to step in with Omar Cooper Jr., Cowboys again at 20. I think this is just going to be best defensive player on the board. In this case, it's C.J. Allen. I don't know enough about him to really get a good gauge on what he can be or what he is. He's 6'1" junior, younger player, 21 years old. They need a lot of help at linebacker as well. So I think that's a good. I think it's a good pick there. I mean, unless you have any objections, we're going to rock with the
Nope.
C.J. Allen at 20.
Works.
Steelers, the host team, the host cities draft host cities team for this season. Quarterback being number one here. I don't even know. Who even knows what the Steelers are going to be at this point? It's just it's so
Bad.
not they're going to be middling again. Um, I mean, it's hard to sit here and justify defensive help. I think this is another area for a trade back, but in this case, we're gonna. I guess we go with the best offensive lineman on the board, which in this case is going to be Blake Miller. Um,
This is going to be a really boring part of the draft. I feel.
it is. It's going to be. Yeah, it's not going to be very exciting. So we're going to go Blake Miller here, I guess. The Chargers coming up on the board. This is another one where it's like, man, it doesn't. A lot of these teams towards the back end, they don't need defensive help, and that's pretty much all it is when it comes to worth it players at this point. Um, I'm
Just
honestly
turn on the
not even sure at this
simulation
point.
because we have no idea what we're doing.
I don't even. Where do I even go to do that? I don't even know where that's at.
Settings, I think.
Well, settings says like, oh, I gotta lose the current draft progress. So I don't even know what that's gonna be like, messing shit up like crazy.
Crap. I was supposed to say that would make it easier, but I mean, I would just.
I mean, they need help with safety. They need help with the secondary. Emmanuel McNeil Warren still on the board. Could definitely see them doing that. Because they still have. I mean, the Chargers still have Khalil Mack on their team, so they edge rusher could be interesting. Their offensive line was awful last year. A lot of the guys got hurt. I don't think they're necessarily going to go tackle because they have Rashawn Slater and then Joe Alt. But then again, I don't know. I have no idea what could potentially be the pick here. I'm gonna say Emmanuel McNeil Warren just because of that need at safety, kind of towards the end of it. And then with the Eagles, we'll just go. It's kind of a who do you think is going to be better, Akeem Mesidor or Keldrick Falk at edge? Because you did lose. Who do they end up losing? They lost one of their edge rushers, I think. They lost Jordan Phillips, so they're gonna have to replace him. It just depends on. I'm not sure exactly what Akeem Mesidor. He was obviously on the other side of Ruben Bain, so we got a lot of the pressure taken off of him. That could be a big part of it as well. I'm gonna let you pick between those two because I think those two are gonna be one of those two is gonna be the end up being a pick there. Akeem
Let's go
Mesidor or
Mesidor.
Ketch. Okay, cool.
I don't remember the last time the Eagles drafted offense in the last bit, but
Yeah, well,
They
most of the
always
time
seem to go like offensive
there's a
prospect.
Georgia player who falls to this point. So
Yep.
Browns again. They had already taken who do we say they took? Yeah,
Jeremiah
Jeremiah
Love.
Love. So big offensive help here. Need a lot of offensive help in this scenario. I think they could go Denzel Boston, get whoever's going to be quarterback there, some more help on the outside. So I think that's what we're going to roll with there.
Just a
Um,
mess with the Browns. It doesn't make any sense why they took two quarterbacks and then played them both. I mean, the Browns are one of those organizations that legit. I know I'm a Titans fan. I would kill myself if I was a Browns fan.
that's good.
I'm not even kidding. Like it would be. I
That's
wouldn't
really
even have
good,
fun. It would just be.
especially like
I
in
think about
Cleveland.
it. Ugh,
Thinking about like Cleveland's
just
just not a it's not an attractive city to live in,
it's
and the
Cleveland,
Browns
bro.
suck. The Cavs have been okay. They were pretty good last year. I don't know how they're
LeBron's
doing
been
this year,
okay.
but
I mean,
yeah, you have
LeBron's been okay
LeBron.
the
I
last
guess
couple of
that's the
years,
wrong one, but my
and
fault.
then you've got oh crap, what's his name?
Uh,
Donovan Mitchell,
yeah,
and then you got
the
um,
Guardians are kind of good. The Guardians have been pretty good so far this season. So, man, it's just a mess over there in Cleveland. Who knows what they're even going to do? And I got to be honest with you here. Whenever the Browns actually started to kind of look like they were turning a corner with Baker and them, and I've got a deep disdain for the Browns because of that, because of what they did with Baker. I fucking love Baker, and they did his ass so dirty. And as soon as
yeah,
they got rid of him, they just went back into the whatever pit of hell they escaped from, and their fans were
I
just really insufferable too. Whenever they were
I
going on this streak
don't.
of being really good, it's like, dude, a lot of people just kind of felt bad for you guys because your team sucked so bad for so long, and you're finally good. You're finally good, and you become the most insufferable people ever. To where it's like, man, they should never be good again because these people are just awful. These fans are just terrible, really insufferable, acting like they've
Yeah,
been good
they
for so many years and just they haven't.
they got good because of Baker, and then when they got rid of Baker, it's like, well, it wasn't all Baker; it was the team around him, so we could probably replace him really easily. And it's like,
Let's
dude,
replace
it
them
took
with
you
a
30
let's
years to get a quarterback that wasn't bad, and you got rid of the only one who had any talent. And now, guess what? You're in purgatory. You traded for a rapist. I mean, good for you. That's what you deserve. That's the karma
you
you
traded
get.
for
And
a
you know
rapist
what?
that gave him 200 million guaranteed. That
Like
if that's not the most Browns move ever.
when it happened, I was like, "There's no way." I was like, "I can't believe they're doing this."
That's it's
Um,
so it's so pathetic to look at, but okay. Uh Bears go defensive line, go Keldrick Falk here.
Perfect.
The Bills, their defense was bad last year. You need some help. You lose who did they need some secondary help. Avion Terrell's still on the board here. I mean, he's a
That
Clemson
Avion
guy.
Terrell's a talent. He's great. He's a good corner.
We're gonna rock with him here. Uh the 49ers. We're gonna go Caden Proctor here. I think he'd be a good fit there at tackle. They need some
I think he
help.
would too.
Trent Williams has been hurt for a little bit. He's still a really good player, but he's been hurt. Uh, Texans, um, their offensive line was awful last year. So many of these
Yep.
teams are awful, so I think they're gonna end up reaching on guys. And Ian Hanser, I think that's how you say his last name. Could be totally wrong about that. I have no idea. I think it'd be a good pick there at 28 for them to kind of try and rebuild that. 29, another edge guy. We already discussed Kansas City, who we said they were going to take Mansour Delane. Um, Going to see him double dip here on defensively. Know they need the help with it a little bit. Really isn't a whole lot of uh, tackle or guys that you would sit here and think that they would maybe reach for. Maybe a Emmanuel Pregnon or Caleb Lomu could potentially see that, but I think you see Cassius Howell there. He's really athletic pass rusher, like we've seen from some of these A&M defenders in the past. But Miami at 30, You saw them take guard kid from Penn State. I would say this one's a tough one. I've seen KC Conception be a potential pick there, so we're gonna go ahead and roll with that one actually because they need help wide receiver wise, big time, and I think
Yep.
they're gonna dip in the first round a little bit for that. The Patriots, I've seen, edge potentially be a spot here, or just D lineman in general. Um, could definitely use some help along the edge. So I don't know. What's your opinion here?
So, I mean, the Patriots had the easiest run in probably modern Super Bowl history,
Yeah,
and they couldn't
it's.
get it done. Um,
I think
Now
that
there's a
Super
lot of,
Bowl went about as well as everybody expected it to.
yeah. I mean, if I had the money, I would have bet on it, and I didn't care about it. Um, but it's one of those things that I think here you just need. I mean, they definitely needed edge help. They definitely need defensive line, just entirely defensive line. Uh, they definitely need offensive line. They could use another receiver probably. Um,
I could see them trading out of this spot.
yeah, I could too. There's a lot of talent here that doesn't really fit the bill um, super well. So I mean, this is plus at the end of the first. This is where the crazy stuff happens. This is where
Yeah,
just like
where you'll see some
people
like
essentially start treating it like the
reaches.
second.
You will see some reaches here, like big
So
time reaches here. But
I would just go just whatever their biggest need is and whatever the top guy is there. I really don't know.
I think offensive line as a whole is a big need. But we're gonna go with the tackle, second
Yeah.
Utah tackle taken in Caleb Lomu. And then last pick, Super Bowl champion Seahawks running back edge DB. I mean, you lost Tariq Woolen. I think Colton Hood's a good pick here. Kind of end out the
Yeah,
first
great pick,
round.
honestly. He should have been
End up,
taken earlier, but
yeah.
great pick.
You calling our mock draft bad? Alrighty, mock draft complete. We're gonna see how PFF graded our mock draft. I'm sure it's gonna be fucking terrible, but oh, thank
B
you.
plus probably.
They want me to subscribe to this. No, I'm good. Let's see. Does it have the grades? It does not have the grades. Sad. It does not say, but uh, yeah, that would be our mock draft. We'll see about potentially doing one later in the week with a different engine, so we can actually make trades and things like that. But
Yeah, I'd love to do one Wednesday night if you have time for that. I'll be at the
oh,
gym, but I'll come back early, and if you
I
have
should.
time, we can do that.
I should have time. I should have plenty of time to do that. But so we'll be on the
And
lookout for not our final mock draft, but this one being a little bit of a precursor, using a little bit different, actually being able to use trades and things like that. But
yeah,
yeah, for the
let's
most
pick
part,
some trades and let's figure that out.
but yeah, that would be our mock draft. We have the Tennessee Titans taking Arvell Reese, but probably end up taking somebody like a Reuben Bain or a Jeremiah Love with that fourth overall pick, or I think probably the leader in trading back. But either way, we will see. Draft is just a couple days away. I know it's really exciting. Draft's gonna be really exciting, and then once it's over, it's gonna be like, shit. We have 4 months until the season's supposed to start. So it's just gonna
Yeah,
be kind of counting down
crazy.
until training camp and OTAs kick in. So who knows what's gonna happen on Thursday? I think we both have said it. This is a really polarizing draft in the sense of I think you're going to look back at this draft and you're going to see there have been a lot of really solid players come out of this draft and come out of this first round, but there's not going to be anybody who you're going to sit here and say, "Oh, this guy is a can't miss prospect and is going to be a future Hall of Famer." I don't think
Yeah,
there's
I
anybody
agree.
who's like that in this draft, and it's kind of become the norm that we've seen. But as a whole, whatever. I know you've got to go, so we're going to wrap things up here. We'll look to do a mock draft a little bit later this week before the draft starts on Thursday out in Pittsburgh. Shitty Pittsburgh. That's all from us. We'll be back a little bit later this week with another mock draft. For Ethan Jacobs, I'm Ryan Smith. This is the Two Tone Report. See you guys.
Tighten up.